Okay, guys, looks like everybody who wanted to joined, and we can start our weekly meeting. So I see that there is one new participant on the meeting, Jose. Jose, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your interest, why you're interested about the MSI, and maybe you have some experience you want to share? Oh, okay, maybe no. So, okay, I will start sharing my screen. Let's go to the Msi Roadmap. So during this week, we were working on a web API for existing scenarios for SourceItem and the sources and stocks, and we were covering our existing functionality with the web API test, and maybe Valera will share the update for current story. Valera, do you have any update for web API?
Hi guys, I does not finish the story about MPI because on this week I focused on UI component updates because it was our tech debt. We have read internal build. Now I finish it. I create PR, and now we have green internal builds. For web API test and web API functionality, I need several days. I think I finish it to Wednesday, maybe to Tuesday.
Okay. Did you are you going to create a wiki page for UI component description, because I believe we have something to share with the community, because we stuck with some pretty interesting stuff in Magento 2 regarding the UI components, and also we wanted to share what's the best way to work with UI components if we have many-to-many relationship, which could potentially have quite a lot of items to be rendered.
Yes, I'm going to describe all our code, like us how to do, or like us a simple cookbook. It will be on next week. Maybe it will be on Sunday. I'm going to work on Sunday on this.
Okay. Okay. So another story was create an indexation mechanism for the inventory, and that indexation mechanism is supposed to create virtual aggregated stocks. So actually, in the terms of MSI project, we call that stock items. And we have a pull request for this functionality. This pull request was prepared by Lars, who is absent on today's meeting. And actually, I created a code review for this pull request, and I prepared dedicated technical design document describing the indexation process, because the indexation process for stock items is pretty interesting. Because, for example, if we're talking about the big merchant, we could end up with a lot of data stored in this index, because here we can we have a multiplication of data. So we have a multiplication of product quantity, a quantity of SKU we have for some particular merchant, multiplication by amount of sales channel merchant has configured on his particular installation. So in our case, sales channel could be like websites. So if we are talking about the merchants who have quite a lot of websites and who have quite a lot of SKUs, we end up with the multiplication of amount of SKUs on the number of sales channel merchant has on his particular installation. And we actually don't want to put all of the data in the single index, because, for example, if merchant has 100,000 products and 5 websites, we end up with 500,000 records in this table. So putting all the data in the single table actually will affect the performance both for the read and write operations. That's why it's proposed here to introduce a dimension mechanism, and we already use a dimension mechanism for the full text index. By dimension, we understand a scope by which we make a split of index. So, for example, if we're talking about full text index, we use as dimension store view, because we usually use a store view as a scope for locale. So, for example, we have locale for the English, locale dedicated for German language, and each store view has own scope. That's why, for example, for the full text index, we create two independent indexes per each locale. So actually pretty the same situation happens here, but here we have a scope which is represented by the stock. So for example, having 5 websites, each of which represent particular sales channel, we actually end up with 5 different indexes. Like here, inventory stock item for the stock 1, inventory stock item for the stock 2, for the stock 3, 4, and 5. And also we already have in our indexer framework, we have the Spi interface, and that Spi interface it's aware about the dimensions. So you can see that all of that methods of that interface are aware about the dimension, and they can accept the traversable interface. So you can, for example, save data for some particular indexes. So actually, in our case, dimension would be the stock IDs. So as I said above, the main idea here is not to put all the data in the single table and make it possible to make the architecture to be scalable horizontally and put all the data to the table responsible for some particular stock. Also, another really interesting point here, that for all Magento 2 indexes, we have a requirement of the 0 downtime during the full reindexation happen. And actually what we understand here by the 0 downtime, so let's imagine that we have the full reindexation happen and we recreate new table, and while we recreate new table, actually the front end is unreachable, because we actually at the beginning of the reindexation process, we just drop the old table and start to recreate one. So we want to prevent this situation. That's why we actually introduce the aliasing mechanism when we introduce a temporary index at the time of reindexation. Because because for big merchant reindexation, the full reindex could spend some time. Sometimes it's minutes, sometimes it also could be tens of minutes, maybe it could be even hours. That's why we need to introduce the temporary index and make a switch of the temporary index to the real one at the end of the reindexation. So here is actually this mechanism is used in full text index, and actually it's here is the description how we make that switch using the aliasing mechanism. And here we create, so here we have the scopes, and the store IDs are the store view IDs, and we use the temporary index. We clean data and we recreate the data for the new index, and that actually apply the changes for the temporary index being used. And after the index is prepared, we, using the index switcher interface, actually we make a switch. So we substitute actually the old index with a new one, and make a commit that, calling the use regular index. So the same behavior we would like to achieve with the new stock item indexes to provide zero downtime for the front end at the time when we have the full index launched. And here you see the link to the pull request, which is open. We still need to make some fixes, and Lars is working on that pull request. So I hope we get updates on that work. So here we have some stuff to fix. That's regarding the story. That's regarding the story devoted for the new indexation process of stock items. Another story we committed to work during the current week was Reservation API. So let's open a document. Let's go to the wiki page. Reservations. So in the reservation, so for the reservation, I added a technical design for how the reservation should look like. We already had the reservation page, and I added here some more description based on our previous discussion how a reservation should be done for the order cancellation. And as we agreed on a previous meeting, we no need to make any kind of binding between the reservation and the order. So as we see for now, the reservation should be just an append-only operation, and we need to create just another reservation with the cancelled status. And here I also added the API for reservation. So I introduced the example of the data interface for the reservation entity, which holds now the reservation ID, stock ID, SKU, quantity, and the status, and two possible statuses, created and cancelled. And two services. Maybe we'll need more, but for now I see that probably we need two services. The first one, the Append Service, which append an array of reservation into the table. So this service is actually pretty similar to what we have with the multiple save command, because this is append service, it will just insert new reservations to some reservation storage I believe in out-of-the-box implementation that would be MySQL table. So the implementation would be pretty similar to what we have with the multiple save command. And also we need a service for retrieving reservation for some particular product, for some particular scope. That's why we have a service which is called get reservation for product, and we will use this service inside the stock item implementation. So how the stock item get quantity will work? So we will retrieve the stock item quantity data, and we need to minus the number of all existing reservations for this particular SKU in the scope of particular sales of channel. So in the scope of stock we are working. So here you can see the description of how this happened. And to make it possible to retrieve all the open reservation, we need to use this service, get reservation for product. So this service going to be used in the scope of inside the implementation of the stock item entity. So for now, this is how the reservation services look like. And maybe Alessandro would be interesting to take that story regarding the reservation and start working on it. And of course, me or any other guy from community engineering team will help and assist you in this.
Sure. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I still have to get some concepts of the multi-source inventory project, but I will do it for sure. Yes, I'm willing to contribute. Okay.
Okay. So sounds good.
I will need some help because I'm new to, as I mentioned before in our private calls, I'm new to contributions to Magento core repository. So I will need some help for sure, but I will ping you, and I'm not shy.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Okay.
So you can start working with a reservation, and you can use this reservation document as a high-level design document for this particular story.
Okay. Is there anything already implemented? For example, the interfaces that you showed, are they in a particular branch?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Okay. And during the previous call, you asked about the example of the unit test.
Yes, I received it. Okay, I've seen it. It's in a branch of the repo.
So I believe we will merge it to the develop branch, and it will appear in the develop just after this meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. If there are any other open questions we need to discuss during this meeting?
I have a question. Maybe it's early to discuss about this, but just to have an idea. How the reservation should be appended? I mean, what's the strategy? We have to use a plugin on upon order saving, or we use an event. We directly change the core of order placement? What kind of strategy? Just something to think about in the near future, because I think that it's early to think about it, but I think that as soon as an order is placed or cancelled or updated in some way, and reservation has to be affected by this change, we will have to establish how this will happen. I did it on Magento 1, but on Magento 1 I used the event.
Event probably.
And it was, yes, but it was a separate module. Obviously, it was a third-party module, so it's the only way to do that. But since we are here developing a core module, I don't know if in this case we can interact more deeply with the framework, or we have to stay on high level. And in that case, if you prefer to use a plugin or other methods, it's just suggestion. Let's talk about this. Let's think and talk about this. Not now. It's not mandatory to talk about this now. Just a hint.
So it's actually it's a good question. So for now, our strategy is next. So we are building actually new inventory system, and for now we are trying to be separately from the core to prevent actually integration with the core, because integration with the core for now will actually imply the introducing some changes to the core, and if we'll introduce some changes to the core now, actually we'll introduce some backwards incompatible changes to the core. That's why at this stage we want to prevent this, or at least postpone this as far as possible. And we are trying to make all the implementation separately in our inventory module, and covers that functionality with end-to-end testing scenarios to make it sure that actually we could see that all our interfaces and all our business scenarios work as expected, and just after that start to integrate it to the core. For now, actually, the deduction, which is the stock deduction, which happens during the order placement, we don't have a particular nice extension point in Magento 2 core as well. So it's pretty similar how it was done in Magento 1. So we have the event which is thrown, and after that we have the observer which actually make deduction using the stock item model. So I believe that when actually our system would be ready for the integration with core, we will make some changes to the core and introduce more better extension point, because for now the event thrown is not actually ideal mechanism for Magento 2, because it's not Magento 2 way. For now, I believe it's too early to say particularly what would be exactly. So whether that would be a plugin or whether we'll have some particular interface. So I'm actually voting for some particular interface, because that's much more evident for a developer to see that there is some like deduction step of the order than pluginization or event. But actually I can't say it for sure now, because we are pretty far from the integration with the core now. So for now we want just to make sure that it will work, and cover that with web API and integration test that actually that functionality work. And after that, try to recreate like step by step that we can manage our sources. We can build the stocks based on the source inventories. Get that aggregated quantity. After that, try to make a reservation for that stock. After that, make a deduction and see how it's like making step by step and make sure that we are covering all the business cases. So that's actually the answer. So we will definitely introduce at some point of time more evident extension point in a core, in an order placement process, but not now.
Okay.
Okay. So if you guys don't have any other question, probably we can finish today's meeting. So looks like it's clear what's the commitment we can take for the next week. So we'll continue work on we'll actually start work on a reservation, and we will continue work for the test coverage of UI of our basic scenarios. And we need to process the pull request created by Valera and fix the UI components. And I believe we will provide an article in our wiki and share with the community with our advices how to work with UI components. Okay, guys, it was nice to see you. And
thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.